Thank you. And we are back again with Behind the Final Call cover story. We are trying out a little something different today. So I hope we look forward to hearing your feedback and what your thoughts are. And of course, I am here with the editor of the Final Call newspaper, Brother Richard Muhammad. And of course, as we always ask, why this cover story? The cover story is On the Brink of Anarchy. Why this cover story?
Well, assalamu alaikum. Of course, this is this is our cover here. And if you got the digital edition, of course, you already have it. Or if you go online, you can see it. But you know what? Why don't you all communicate with us? Let us know if you'd be interested in kind of a special limited printing of this paper. Of course, you have to pay a little more for it.
Let us know
And
if
let me know what you think.
kind of a
Okay.
special.
So we wanted to deal with this thing to reopen the country, and we had to ask the question, where is it going? Because there was so much acrimony about reopening the country, and there still is. A lot of debate, people showing up at rallies at governors' homes with weapons, people talking about tyranny, reflecting the president's language of we need to liberate Michigan, liberate Virginia, liberate Wisconsin, or some of these states, in particular states in which he needs to be successful with his reelection. So, the question is, beyond reopening, does this set the country up? Well, not really set the country up, but does this continue to stretch? Does this continue to stretch the bonds that bind this country together? Because you have a president that's constantly playing an us against them game. There's no call really to national unity. So, of course, some people feel like they're being forced to choose between their lives and trying to get the economy started. Few people are saying that the science is there to say that you should go back to work. The Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan has said, with great guidance, hey, slow down. Don't jump out there. Keep with the social distancing and keep with the sheltering in place. So go to finalcall.com. You can check that out. Let us know what you think about it. But again, this is one of the challenges that America continues to face, and it is the challenge. Can this country survive? Because we've seen politics wreak havoc with it. We've seen a very divided electorate, very divided country, period. We've got a president who is not appealing to any type of national interest. So this fracturing, the anger, because believe it or not, this policy of reopening, I mean, it was basically kicked off by angry white people that showed up with guns, even though they were a relatively small number. Even the polling says a relatively small number of people believe that it's time to reopen the country. So we'll see where this thing goes. But go to finalcall.com and check out the cover story this week.
Thank you, Brother Richard. And we encourage those who are on social media with us right now to please like and share as we continue this discussion. Let us know what you think about our presentation today, if we should go back to what we were doing. And of course, we'll be looking for questions at the end of the presentation. And of course, I'm not going to miss the opportunity. Make sure you're subscribing to the digital edition of the Final Call newspaper, of course. And I called you Brother Richard. I'm so sorry. Brother Nava is encouraged us that if you're interested in still being able to get a print edition, let us know, of course, as he mentioned, but make sure you subscribe to the digital edition as well, even if you want the physical paper as well. So we kind of began.
Yeah, I mean, we're not printing. Yeah, we're not printing to a limited, very limited numbers every week. I'm just wondering, are there people out there that would be interested in getting some of these kind of limited edition print copies of the paper? And like I said, of course, you're going to have to pay more because we have to pay more to get it done. But let me know if you're interested, and maybe we should kind of try to figure that out. I think we should, we may have, I mean, the regular paper is is $2. We have to charge you $5, just because in order for us to kind of pay for the printing and stuff, and to actually bring in some revenue. So anyway, let me know what you think.
Thank you. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So, we're going to go ahead and jump to that next article in the paper, which is shown in on page 5, which is $349 billion COVID-19 small business program shortchanges businesses of color. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Oh, absolutely. This is actually on page 24, and this is an analysis and a commentary from the Center for Responsible Lending. And what they pointed out was 95% of Black businesses were unable to participate. Not in the latest round of coronavirus funding and legislation, but the previous one, it was about $2 trillion. Could not access the money, 95% of Black businesses. And that was supposed to be for small businesses, but we saw people like the Los Angeles Lakers, Shake Shack, I think Starbucks got a piece of it, Harvard University got a piece of it. So we saw these major rich institutions pick up a piece of that money, so much so that it ran out in about 2 weeks. Again, that's the first kind of stimulus, um, paycheck protection program that was passed, not the most recent one. So we really need to pay attention to the most recent one. And you should be asking your congressman, what does this mean in particular for Black businesses? So this is something that we'll be looking into and following and tracking. But again, you need to get the digital edition of the Final Call, excuse me, and read this article. Very, very interesting. But I don't think it should be surprising because we've seen it over and over again. When it comes to these kinds of programs, we see over and over again those who are connected, those who already have resources, those who already have money, inevitably seem to benefit. So, but check out the article. It's a very good piece.
Thank you, Brother Richard. Moving right along, of course, I was really excited about this, and I guess because I was blessed to participate in it. And of course, this is our second run, so make sure that you check on our platforms. We make sure that it's easily available, and we'll put a link in the descriptions wherever this is being streamed, because this was the second of the presentations that we did, really beginning to take a Pan-Africanist perspective and see what's going on, not only above in our borders in the United States, but around the diaspora, what's going on with people of African descent on the continent. We were blessed to bring in several individuals from around the diaspora. Can you give us a little bit more about that, Brother Naba?
Yeah, this was, I think, a very important digital forum that we convened. Because essentially what we did was we convened people from South Africa, Senegal, Uganda, Kenya, and where else? Kenya. Of course, you had me in Chicago. You had our columnist, Africa Watch columnist, Brother Jaron, who was in Philadelphia, who organized the forum, and you had Dr. Dusty Muhammad, who was in California, but she was actually trained in the Cuban medical program. Our co-moderator was Brother Khalil Charles, who is of Caribbean kind of descent, but he actually works out of Turkey, and he lives in he works out of Turkey, and he has lived in Sudan. And we had a video that was sent to us from a brother in Sudan who participated. So we had Black experts, analysts, advocates from Sudan, Senegal, where you had a brother who was an economist. We had South Africa, Uganda, Kenya. So we thought that was a pretty good mix. And we talked about the coronavirus, a number of different ways, how it impacts the continent, how things are going now. Very interesting in terms of the fact that up to this time, the coronavirus has not really spread in Africa. So they have been, of course, using sheltering in place. That has been challenging for a number of reasons. One of the fundamental reasons is one of the same fundamental reasons as in America. When you shelter in place, you shut down economies. And since a vast number of people in Africa work in what they call the informal economy, meaning that they're small scale entrepreneurs, they may be selling food on the road, they may be opening little shops, they may be doing little, trading little products, they may be working in marketplaces, and the social safety nets are not as strong because the continent has been so exploited. And as one of the our panelists said, the continent loses millions of dollars a year in tax evasion schemes from European and American companies that come in and do business, but they don't pay their fair share of taxes, and other schemes where they suck the money out of the continent. Then you have a tremendous amount of foreign debt from entities like the World Bank and the IMF. And these loans have sapped so much of the money out of the economies that there isn't enough resources to be reinvested back into structure, social structures, infrastructure, and that kind of thing. But the brothers and sisters talked about how it's working. African women in particular, who are many other entrepreneurs, are really hit hard. Um, in some countries, you've got a curfew, like from about 7 p.m. to 5 p.m., and you literally cannot move around. Personal vehicles, traffic has been banned. Some transportation systems have been shut down. Borders have been closed. There's also concerns about abuses and even killings by security forces in some of these countries as they push these stay-at-home orders and make sure that people don't, leave the areas, or making sure that people obey what the government wants done. So these are challenging times, but we got some good information from Dr. Desta Muhammad, who talked about Cuba's medical model, which focuses on prevention and focuses on having small health centers in communities where it may be one or two doctors working at these small centers, and they get to know who the people in the neighborhood are. So when there's a epidemic or when there's a problem, they already know who the main people are who have compromised immune systems. So in the Cuban medical system context, it's more about prevention than responding. It's more about saving lives than making profits. It's more of about people as opposed to the bottom line. And the Cuban doctors really see themselves in a kind of revolutionary spirit. They see themselves as being devoted to really service and trying to literally make the world a better place. So that model, we talked about how maybe that model could be utilized in Africa. There was also talk about more technological exchange with Cuba, and not just the importing of doctors, but, for example, working on testing, working on other types of medical technology that can help the continent. So these are all, very important things. They talked about things like uh, um, currency sovereignty. In particular, the brother who's an economist out of Senegal talked about this. And he talked about how when African countries borrow money, they borrow money in a different currency. And so since they borrow money in a different currency, they end up paying more interest, it ends up costing them more. And again, it doesn't strengthen their own currency. And in some ways, it undermines their economy. So can you imagine, for example, the United States taking out a loan and it takes out a loan in an international capacity, but the loan is taken out in rubles or euros and not in dollars. That's the position that African nations are in. They borrow money, but not in their currency, not in their money, but they borrow dollars coming out of either U.S. currency, which is dollars, or they borrow money often coming out of European currency, which used to be the euro. I mean, which still is the euro. So, these are all significant things. I mean, we really had great, great, great discussions about what is happening on the continent from people that live, work, and serve there. And there was a great feeling that our brothers and sisters on the continent want the participation and the help of those in the diaspora, including America, of course. And you got black people in Brazil, you got black people in Mexico, you got black people Central South America. You got black people all over the world, pretty much. So there was a little talk about China and China's role in Africa, some of it good, some of it bad. Concern was expressed that as China's population explodes, there are fears that there won't literally be enough space for Chinese people. And so there's fears that they want to buy up land in Africa, not only to feed themselves, but also to actually have people live. So these are all very serious questions. And go to finalcall.com right now, and you can read the article. And if you like, you can watch this digital forum, which was absolutely great. It was organized by Brother Jaron Muhammad out of Philly, who was our columnist. He writes the Africa Watch column. And we hope to do more of these types of digital forums in the future, where we pull together our people who are experts from around the globe. And so you can hear directly from them. So as opposed to hearing from someone tell you about Africa, you can hear from people that are in Africa that are actually working on these issues on a daily basis. So, that was a great session.
Thank you, brother Naba. And I keep on going back to that other name in my mind. I guess it's a little adjustment. But I want to thank all of those who are signing in. We're seeing your comments. We appreciate you shouting out what city you're coming from and what part of the country, or even in this instance, what part of the world you're in. So thank you, thank you, thank you. Keep on sending those shouts out. And of course, you'll see they'll pop up on the screen. Ramadan Mubarak for those. We didn't give those greetings, which means blessed Ramadan for those who are celebrating and fasting during this time period. We appreciate that, the love that's shown. And going to the next thing, of course, and you mentioned a little bit earlier that with the Cuban doctors that were trained, many of them were trained many doctors were trained in Cuba. And we actually had one of those doctors who have completed the medical program that participated in the economic ramifications of the virus pandemic, actually participated. But there's another story on page 6 of the Final Call newspaper. The title of that article, Muslim Medical Students Helps Confront Coronavirus in Cuba. Can you give us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, well, this is a piece I'm very proud for us to be able to run. It's actually by Sister Exan Muhammad, who is out of Muhammad Mosque number 4 in Washington, D.C. But she is one of the students in the Cuban medical program, and the beautiful thing about the Cuban medical program is that it's free. And all you have to commit to do is to go back and you commit to work in an underserved community. So we wanted to hear about a direct experience from somebody who's living it. And so we have Exxon, and she wrote about it. And she wrote similarly about how the key is prevention and the key is local on the ground connections to people. So it's a pretty exciting and enlightening piece. And I mean, if you've got young people, I would say definitely look into this program. If they're interested in medical school. And again, it's a different kind of medicine, a different kind of spirit. For example, Sister Exxon, she talks about this feeling of solidarity. So you have medical students in Cuba from all over the world. But when it comes to their classes have basically been suspended as they deal with this, help as they help the country deal with this coronavirus. And they don't have a lot of cases right now, but they're trying to make sure that that doesn't grow. They're trying to keep the loss of life down. But the program literally includes students from around the country, I mean around the world, but all of them feel a solidarity with the Cuban people. And so when they go out, it's in that spirit to serve. So it's a beautiful piece, and you need to read it, learn about the Cuban medical program. You may want to have your child, your niece, your nephew get involved. You may even want to apply yourself. You got to think you got to spend the first year kind of learning Spanish. But man, wouldn't that be great to be a doctor and already be fluent in Spanish, and you don't pay anything for the program. You don't go into debt. I mean, that's really incredible. And this program was opened up to us by the late Comandante Fidel Castro when the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan and a delegation went to Cuba. And it is also one of the brainchilds of the late Lucius Walker, who for many years, Reverend Walker, who for many, many years led caravans into Cuba, who tried to get medicine into Cuba, a black man, and who tried to stop this barbaric blockade that Cuba has been suffering. So definitely check it out, read the story, go to finalcall.com, subscribe digitally, or let me know. I mean, maybe we got these limited printed editions of the Final Call. Maybe you want one. So let me know. Drop something in the comments, or drop me a line through Facebook or Twitter, or through finalcall.com, and let us know. And maybe we can find a way to print a few more copies. Again, we'd have to charge you a little more, but I think it would be worth it for those who literally just want that as a collector's item or as a keepsake. Because we're not printing the physical edition now. We're hoping that we will relatively soon. Not quite sure exactly when. So we keep going.
Thank you, Brother Nabal. Just moving on, of course, happen to be in Chicago, and of course, many are familiar with the worldwide and actually, in truth, the international news that we have encountered over the past few years in terms of the police department. And of course, there's another article which we encourage you to go and take a look at, which deals with the prison system, and particularly in Chicago. But we also, one of the other stories that's going on right now is actually there is a new top cop. An article in the paper on page number 7, Chicago's new top cops, rocky relationship with police reform activists in former hometown. Can you give us a little bit about?
Yeah. Well, Chicago, of course, has had a history and policing problems for a long time. So we recently had a new police chief who has been appointed by the mayor, and he has been basically ratified by the city council, so he's on the job. But he is the former cop, the former police commissioner in Dallas, and he's now Superintendent David Brown. So we talked to activists in Dallas about him, about his tenure there. There was a lot of criticism of him in terms of some things that he did. Many felt on the surface looked good, but underneath, they still felt there wasn't enough accountability for police officers. Also, if you remember, there was a sniper at one point who was firing during a protest, firing on police officers. And a robot was dispatched to essentially blow the alleged sniper up, I believe in a parking garage. So that was kind of disturbing. So, of course, that was a major question for the new police chief in Chicago, David Brown. And, so we're watching. We always try to be vigilant. He's a black man, but the question becomes not if he's a black man, but what is he for? Is he for real police reform in Chicago? Chicago is supposed to be under a consent decree, federal consent decree, because of problems they've had in the past, cover-ups, corrupt cops selling drugs. the killing of Laquan McDonald, a black teenager shot 16 times, and then not only did that happen, but then they lied about it. You've also had the John Burge, the infamous John Burge, Commander John Burge, and the torture, literally torturing people in Chicago for about 20 years. So Chicago has a pretty bad reputation and some deep problems here. So we'll see if the new police superintendent is ready, willing, and able to uproot the injustices and stop some of this suffering that Black people have undergone at the hands of those who are supposed to preserve and protect them.
Thank you, Brother Naba. And we're just, of course, we appreciate all of those who are sending their shouts out, letting us know that you're there. We hope, as well as your comments, that you are also sharing this program with your family, your friends, and those who need to be in tune on what's going on at this present time and place. So please encourage those who you have access to on social media, pick up the phone and let somebody know they need to check us out and see what's going on right now as we continue this show. Want to move on to the next area, and that is dealing a little bit more on some international issues that are going on, and that is actually on page, I don't have the page number for this one, but though children need peace now more than ever, U.S. and Russia block UN efforts to impose global ceasefire. And while I'm reading that, if you don't have the page number, can you make sure that when you pop up page 4 of the Final Call newspaper? So can you give a little bit more insight on this story?
Yeah, this is on page 15. And we found it to be pretty interesting because essentially there's been a call for a kind of global ceasefire, not only among those who are combatants, but among those who are supporting different combatants. So while the US and Russia have paid lip service to this concept, neither of them have worked to make it happen. So that's again concerning. Once again, we see the major powers perpetuating war when they have the opportunity to work toward peace, to move toward peace, in particular in the middle of a global pandemic, which is already disrupting society and killing people. And in the midst of that, you have war and deprivation. And the major powers, the United States and the the United States and the Soviet, excuse me, I'm going backwards. The United States and Russia, which used to be the USSR and the Soviet Union. But Russia, they often have these proxy wars. You see it in Syria, you see it in Yemen, you see it other places. The US backs one side, Russia backs the other, and people die in the middle. So this resolution would call for a global ceasefire. And some of us may say that'll never happen, but it only doesn't happen because those who could make it happen refuse to make it happen. And we know that we're living in a world where murder, war, destruction is the order of the day, but that's also a choice. It doesn't have to be that way. That's a choice. And so long as these choices are made, this world is on its way out. Unless it finds a way to heed divine guidance, unless it finds a way to reset itself and to go on a different path. So this is why the Honorable Elijah Muhammad taught about the days of judgment, the days of Allah. This is why the minister has been warning us in particular about the ever-spreading wings of war, and in particular telling us to keep our eyes on the Middle East, where this thing he has said, and where the Bible says, look out for the global war of Armageddon. So whether or not that can be avoided, we will see, but certainly not pursuing peace, not considering peace only pushes the world closer and closer to that ultimate brink and that ultimate destructive battle.
Thank you, Brother Naba. Appreciate that insight. And of course, just one of the things that we know and we've seen now more than ever, that our people are definitely looking for divine guidance. And of course, the Final Call newspaper provides that But we also encourage you to make sure that you're keeping in tune with the messages that are being delivered on a weekly basis from the National Center of the Nation of Islam. And you can view those at noi.org, noi.org/webcast on Sunday, live Central Standard Time at 10 a.m. Wednesday and Friday, there's a message that's presented providing guidance on this day and time that we're living in right now. And you can check those out on noi.org/webcast. And those are available on 7:30 Central Standard Time on noi.org/webcast. And of course, I have no shame in my game, brother Naba. Please take the opportunity and make a subscription to the digital edition of the Final Call newspaper. And at the end of the broadcast, we're going to give you a little snapshot on what that looks like. And of course, once you see it, I know you'll be ready to go get your subscription. One of the things, of course, we've been talking about the news that is going on in the events. And for those who are blessed, and all of those who have been blessed to experience the teachings of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, is not a word and message that just lets you know what's going on in the day and time that we currently living in. But we're blessed with guidance and prophecy. So those who have been around the nation, if you're registered or not, you're familiar with the book, The Fall of America. You're familiar with those things that we've been told, what to store in our homes, what to keep in our houses, and all those things in preparation for a day and time like this right here. But with that said, is that we're going to go ahead and jump. There's two articles that we always make sure that you check out. Of course, you want to know what's going on and just the actual facts. But we also, in this time period, always need some divine guidance. So the Honorable Elijah Muhammad's article in this edition of the paper, Islam, a Unifying Religion. Can you give us a little bit on that?
Yeah, absolutely. And the other thing is, the actual facts and what's going on, they bear witness to the divine truths and the divine wisdom and the divine warning that comes out of the Nation of Islam and the Honorable Elijah Muhammad's teachings and the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. So all of this is connected. We strive to help you see the relevance of these teachings so that you can look for yourself and make up your own mind. So this week's article is Islam, a Unifying Religion, from the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad. And so the Honorable Elijah Muhammad writes, these are really great articles, brothers and sisters. So get the book. You can go to store.finalcall.com. The book that this is from is Our Savior Has Arrived. And you can also read these articles by the Honorable Elijah Muhammad and the other articles on finalcall.com. But the Honorable Elijah Muhammad writes, Islam, the religion of peace, in believing it brings about a peace of mind and contentment. It is a unifying religion. Its author is God. It teaches against the doing of evil of every kind, great or small. The aims of Islam in America are, number one, to teach our people the truth. Number two, to clean them up and make them self-respecting and unite them on to their own kind. Three, to bring them face to face with our God and to teach them to know their enemies. So this is just those four things, three things alone, or those four things, if you count Islam being a religion of peace, are well worth studying. Because to know at a time when Islam is often maligned, in particular by Western media and American media, and often attacked, but it truly is a religion of peace. And in this article, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad talks about it. He talks about the divine purpose for which Black people were brought to this country. Did you ever ask yourself, why were we brought here? How could God allow us to be brought here? I did. And so I would say, consider it, take a look at it, read it, and, where you find truth, hold on to it. One of the things that I often say that attracted me to the Nation of Islam is that I was never told to take anything at face value. I was told to read, to study, and to decide for myself and to prove for myself what was true and what was false. So I don't think it gets any better than that.
Thank you, Brother Naba. We're coming to the close. Of course, we have to go to the man that is in our midst and amongst us right now, his article in the paper, which is very relevant and timely as always. But we are currently those Muslims. I don't even want to throw a number out there. I know you probably got the number, but it's is a whole lot of us all around the planet.
Couple billion.
A couple billion. That's what I was thinking. But of course, there's a beautiful article entitled "Blessed Ramadan." Can you give us a little insight from that article?
Well, this is an article by the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. Of course, right now, we, along with the Muslim world, are engaging in a special month of fasting and prayer. No eating during the daylight hours, unless you have a medical condition or you're traveling, and then there are other things you can do, and no intimate relations with your spouses during the daylight hours. But I mean, this is a great, great, great message by the minister, who talks about blessed Ramadan and what it is, and how Ramadan allows us to break bad habits, and how Ramadan allows us to start making new good ones and breaking the grip of those things we thought had a hold on us that we couldn't stop. Now imagine that, once a year, and I think all of us as Muslims look forward to it. We look forward to Ramadan as kind of a reset, an opportunity to get ourselves back in order if we're out of order, an opportunity to strengthen ourselves if we're already strong, or if we need more strength. So, I mean, a great time of year, so one of the things that the minister writes is he's talking about what is happening with us as a people in America, as well as what is happening around the world. So one of the things that he taught, and the mission of the Honorable Elijah, the mission, and he says, the resurrection first. Well, let me go up a little bit. And as difficult as it would be for us to visit the cemetery and blast the trumpet and cause the dead in their graves to rise up out of those graves, is the difficulty of the mission that Allah placed on the shoulders of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. In other words, getting our people out of the grave of ignorance, out of the grave of self-hatred, right? Out of the grave of being buried under the decadence of American society. And these things that we have been made into by over 400 years in this country. It is like getting us up out of that. It's almost like going to the cemetery and blowing a horn and people get up out of their graves. So the minister says the resurrection first of our people, and the resurrection after that of all the members of the human family who have been blinded by the touch of Satan and the falsehood that he has introduced into the world, the rebellion he has introduced into the world, making evil fair seeming to men. We thank Allah for the Honorable Elijah Muhammad and this invincible truth that he has given us, that begins the process of raising us up from a dead level and standing us upright before God and man. I mean, now, isn't that beautiful? A resurrected, rejuvenated human being. And Ramadan is part of that process. Beautiful article by the minister. Blessed Ramadan. Go to finalcall.com right now and read it. Lay hold to it. Take that which can benefit your life. Take that which can make your existence better. Take that which can elevate your mind, your spirit, and your soul, especially at a time like this when there's so much death and destruction and worry. Take into your mind supreme wisdom from the Honorable Elijah Muhammad and the special message from Minister Farrakhan. Blessed Ramadan. Go to Final Call right now, finalcall.com right now, and check it out. We can all use some good spiritual.
Thank you, Brother Naba. Of course, we covered a lot in a very short period of time. We want to thank all of those who are watching with us live. And of course, we encourage those who didn't get a chance to share with it. Of course, this will be up on our social media platforms. We'll actually make sure that it's on our Facebook page as well. Please share it. Please share it. If you got anything of benefit or value out of this, which apparently you have, because most of you all have stayed on, please make sure that you're liking it, that you're sharing it, that you're keeping in tune with what's going on with the Final Call. If you want to know what's going on right now, this is the place to do it. If there's stories that you that are locally that are going on. We want to hear about that. We want to hear about all over the world, what's going on. And you may be one of those special people that, Brother Naba, we can bring other people into this because we want to hear what's
Absolutely.
around the world. So we appreciate your staying with us, like you have. And for those who are watching the recording, please, once again, it's timely. But of course, man, if you're catching this after the fact, please still like and share. There's something that you may not know that a person needs to hear from us. So please make sure that you share, you like, and all of that good stuff. And with that said, Brother Naba, do you have any closing words for us?
Well, I just want to say thank you to everybody. Ramadan Mubarak. And as we all, some of us struggle more than others, some of us doing pretty good. Let's try to take advantage of this time. And look, please subscribe to the digital edition of the Final Call and encourage others because we can really use the support right now. We have to continue operations, but we have suspended, at least for the moment. And we'll see, like I said, God willing, we'll be reinstituting the physical sales of the paper. We hope soon. But right now, we're really dependent on you. So get your digital subscription. And I think if you go to finalcall.com, you can also make a donation. But support institutions that support your best interests. I think we've got a great product. I think we work hard every week. And we're about you, the truth, the resurrection, the light, and empowering our people. And hopefully with that, we save lives and we rebuild spirits and we help people be better, and so that they will maximize their gifts and talents. That's the work that we're in. We exist to serve you. So give us a little help to do that. Thank you.
Thank you, Brother Naba. And of course, man, we got the digital edition of the paper. We encourage you to check it out. For those who get a little lazy sometimes, or you got a lot going on, you can click through. And of course, there's an app for this as well. And you see those lights that lights up like that, that gives you the opportunity to go in this window. And if your eyes aren't as good as they used to be, you can go ahead and increase the size of the text. There's a button in here that allows you to do that. You can have it read to you. So if I click up here, I can have the size of the text increase for me. I can have it read to me. Let's see what this.
Anger erupt with demands to reopen America by Brian E. Muhammad, staff writer. As some governors are removing restrictions in the name of reopening the American economy.
So not too computerized in that. And here's sometimes there's another voice. I think this was
Cook County Jail in Chicago still under fire for handling of pandemic. By Tarika Shakir Muhammad, staff writer, Chicago, the Cook.
And actually, I believe we actually have a tutorial, and that probably will be up soon on the site. So that actually allows you to see how to navigate this and see all of the wonderful tools that are involved in this. But get your subscription to the digital edition of the Final Call. You can get that right there at the bottom. It's digital. finalcall.com. Thank you for your support now, and we pray that you continue to support us, and we want to thank you for that support as well. All of those who have joined us, Ramadan, Kareem, we appreciate that. We thank you, Sister Regina. We thank all of those who have supported us, continue to support us. And I think we took a little step up on our production this time, and we plan, by Allah's permission, to continue to do so. So until next time, Behind the Final Call covers.